Hello, everyone, and welcome to this ACM partner presentation. Today, featuring a discussion of at-home production with Keycode Media and LiveU. I'm Mike Wassenaar from ACM, and I want to welcome you all to this first of our partner presentations of 2020. Our partner presentations are really a way for us to connect ACM members and PEG operations around the country with companies that provide useful solutions that we think will help you meet your mission better. If you have questions during the course of today's presentation, go ahead and do so in the Q&A area of the Zoom link. With that, let's turn things over to our ACM partners, Matt McLean of Keycode Media and Scott Sheehan from LiveU. Matt, welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Give me 1 second while I share my screen. All right, can everyone see what my slide deck?
We
Excellent.
can.
Okay, so diving into it, before we jump into Scott's presentation on at-home production, wanted to give a quick shout out about who Keycode Media is and how we can help your PEG channels. So Keycode Media is a systems integrator, primarily focused in audiovisual, digital signage, broadcast, and post-production solutions, including things like conference rooms, collaborative offices, digital discussion systems, comm systems, fly packs, OB trucks, master control rooms for broadcast, and audio, video, and networking edit suites for post-production. When it comes to our services, it's really about consultant design, integration, engineering support, and training you guys to be successful. And so what I mean by that is we can help you draw and come up with a plan when you're making upgrades to your facilities. We can bring our engineering team to cable, configure, and get your workflow set up for completion. And we can support that system with 24/7 phone, online, and on-site support, equipment procurement, and then our training program, which is like no other system integrator with on-site classroom and online training. Speaking of training, jumped a little ahead there. Let me go back, sorry about that. So, really the difference comes down to we have no boundaries, so we can support multi-location facilities across the nation. We have deep technical experience in AV broadcast production with certified engineers. We have 24/7 support plans like no other with phone, on-site, and remote support. We have certified faculty training on those products so that your team is set up for success. Finance and leasing programs, repair and replace programs for loaning equipment when things go down, and jump to the front of line of manufacturer support. No need to wait on that line to get some technical question answered. We will help you get ahead of the line with any kind of manufacturer questions or support inquiries. So the real difference also comes from our team. I'm not going to go over everyone here, but 30, 40 plus years of experience, experienced executive management team. Jeff Sengfil, our CTO, was one of the engineers for Game of Thrones, 30 years of production experience. People like John Furter, who's our VP engineering, who has 30 years of broadcast workflow at CBS Television in New York. He's also on the board at Cinti. So just a few examples. We also have Akmal, who is a C7, C10 low-level voltage electrical licensed contractor. So, and with that, we have 80 staff and engineers supporting over 700 projects per year, delivering over 20,000 pieces of equipment across the country. And with reseller partnerships that allow you to get better service for products that you wouldn't receive from a product sales like a B&H type company. You're really put at the front of the line and get your equipment better serviced when purchased through Keycode. And it's worth mentioning, of course, personal plug for the marketing department. We have over 350 blogs, 52 events per year, and 252 videos on YouTube, all to help provide you tips and tricks, inspiration for new workflows and new designs for your facilities, and newsletters that provide you alerts that are just specific to the workflows you have. So you don't get a mess of newsletters about products you don't care about, but more about things that you might have in your facility and what are important things to learn about new products and new workflows around that. And we have 7,000 customers nationwide, ranging from churches to corporate, production, post-production broadcasts, sports, and city government paid channels. So this is just an impressive list of all the clients we help nationwide. All right, and with that, I'm not going to dive into every case study, but we're currently just wanted to highlight a couple things we're working on. KLRU down in Austin, Texas, we're helping rebuild their entire radio and production space with master control room, machine room, rack room, edit bays, post-production. So this project is being worked on currently. It's expected to be completed in 2021 with a project cost of $10 million. KCRW, another radio station, not just helping integrate the radio station itself, but creating a television control room for their YouTube live streams of their concerts and other things, audio rooms, ADR studios, radio control, and so on. So I'm going to stop there. Obviously, I can give you a lot more examples, and I'll send you an email later with more information. I'm going to hand it now over to Scott, our main presenter, who's going to talk about at-home production workflows, helping you guys work in these very challenging remote times. Take it away, Scott.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. You guys can see my screen, I presume, Matt? Just want to make sure you can see my screen, correct? All right, let me get started then. Matt, I'll give Keycode Media a little bit of a plug. They're one of our top authorized resellers from around the country. What we're going to do today is I'm going to go through some slides, but really just want to talk about a little bit at the front end of who we are, a little bit about what LiveU is as far as what bonded cellular technology is, which is really kind of the key to what we do to bring live remote, what we call at-home production. And then we'll get into a few case studies. Who is LiveU and what is bonded cellular? So really, we are the market leader in what is called bonded cellular. You could also think of it as IP distribution. We transport video using bonded cellular. Here you see a picture of what might be familiar to a lot of you, especially if you're watching TV these days. With everything that's going on, you'll see a lot of the camera folks with these backpacks. And inside that backpack is a LiveU transport device, and camera connected to it, hooked up to our backpack, and that's how we get video from point A to point B. We'll get into a little bit more of the details as we go through the presentation. Like I say, IP for video streaming, broadcast sports, government, city, local, county government. We're going to focus on your workflows and how we work with a lot of the city and local government's PEG stations. Today. A little bit about who we are. We are the industry leader. There's 2 or 3 other folks in the industry. We're about 60% market share. And this just gives you a little bit of the landscape of where we are all over the world. Essentially bringing live video from point A to point B in less than 1 second using IP technology. A little bit of give you a feel for where we've been. This slide actually, it changes every single day. Working with Keycode Media, the city of Vacaville just recently came on board, the city of Burbank, the city of Atlanta out in Georgia. With the things that are going on with COVID, a little bit with the protests and the things that are going on there, but really driven around COVID and that ability for local governors to get their message out across the country has really driven even more adoption of the LiveU technology here over the last 3 or 4 months. But like I said, we've been around for 12 years and really working with a lot of city, local government, and PEG stations. What it is. So you have a field unit, and there it is, the backpack. On the far right, you've got something to receive it. Okay, so it's basically moving video from point A to point B. And in the middle is the transport mechanism for doing that. So we'll carry video on all the carriers here in the United States. So in that backpack, there's actually 7 modems, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And it's all of those carriers, but we can also tap into an internet, a Wi-Fi, and even a satellite modem, although that's less of a workflow that we see with LiveU. And what we do, think of those 7 modems. okay, is we essentially turned the combined bandwidth of 7 modems into one big pipe. So to send a very high quality 1080p, up to 1080p signal, even 4K, we'll encode video using high efficiency video codec, HEVC, which is basically H.265 renamed. And we will put that and we'll encode it into, say, 4.2 megabits per second. That's just the encoding bit rate. So that's the bandwidth we need. So with 7 modems, we only need 600 kilobits per second on every single modem. One of them drops because the Verizon dropped out or whatever, then we'll divide it by 6 and we'll put 700 kilobits per second on each modem, so on and so forth. So we're actually able to use something called LiveU Reliable Transport, which is that ability to use all those modems. If there's Wi-Fi in the area, we'll use that too. If you're connected on internet, we'll use that too. So we'll basically use all these carriers to transport this video, which allows you to be anywhere at any time, anywhere that there's cellular technology, which pretty much is everywhere, is for, especially within the range that you guys like to travel. And we also use things like packet ordering, forward error correction, adaptive bitrate following. So there's a lot more engineering going on within LRT other than just using the combined bandwidth of those carriers. And we're able to, like I say, do this all over the world very reliably, to the point that, many of our customers, big customers, are no longer using satellite. This is a little bit of the portfolio of our product line. So we talked about, you saw the 3 pieces, encoders and decoders. So you got encoders on the left, you got both on the left, and then decoders on the bottom right. So you're essentially have this ability to be mobile with the devices you see top left, or you could actually have fixed facility encoders. So we also provide people, once you're in a LiveU world, is that ability to move from one station to another station, a LiveU or a live video. We also have some software. So really quickly on Matrix, I talked earlier about governor pools. So all these governor pools have been set up in the different states. You literally, we had the state legislature of Texas, for instance, covering their governor and providing that feed into a pool, just like they used to do with satellite. And multiple TV stations are picking up that live feed at the same time. So it becomes a distribution of live video through the Matrix system. LU Smart is the ability for people to actually use their phones as a contribution video to a production. So literally, we can now send an SMS text to any device out there and bring in a guest interview. It pulls it back into one of those LU 2000s or 4000s where the control room is, and makes it very, very simple, very easy for, say, a CEO or a mayor or a governor or a legislature or somebody like that, where you're doing a production back at your studio and you want to pull in a guest interview for somebody to contribute to that video. And then on the left, like I say, bottom left are the you can put them in a truck as well as put them into a rack. So that's a little bit, and in the middle is LiveU Central. So you have a browser-based application that says, oh, look, I got 2 300s, I got a couple LU 600s, and I'm going to direct that traffic over to the LU 2000 or LU 4000. The other thing on that is, I said Matrix about a pool feed. That's if 8, 5, 4, 6, whatever people want to pick up that feed. But if you just want to go share one feed with, say, I don't know, Fox News or CNN or ABC, you literally can make a call to our 24/7, 365 and say, I'm picking up a feed on my LU 300. We got something going on out here in California. We got a fire going on, and we got this protest going on, and they want to pick up your feed. We can literally put your unit right into their group, and you could be recording live and contributing to any one of the major networks around the country. So this is ability to do your own stuff, bring it into your own studio live within 800 milliseconds, or share it with other people. So, really where it would apply to, city and county live events, and where we're seeing people use it, okay, is the mayor, you've been doing the city hall, you've been doing the inside. The monthly meeting, whatever with the legislature, the different people. You've been doing that. You got all the equipment right there in City Hall. You're producing that live event. Next thing you know, down right hand corner, you got the mayor wants to do something down live. He wants to go out and do something live within the community. You had to go get your equipment, pull it apart, pull it out of your control room, put it in a fly pack, put it in a truck, and go down and set it up. Now, what they simply have the ability to do is leave all that stuff at home or at studio. We call it at home production. Literally go out with one cameraman and one LiveU 300, LiveU 600, whatever it may be, and you can get that live video back to your control room, hit your cable head end, hit your online media, hit all the sources that you want to go to. So if it's a fire, maybe it's the 4th of July parade if you're going to have one this year. Maybe it's the high school football game. So what we're doing is giving stations like yourself, which obviously don't have CNN, Fox, ABC, CBS kind of money, you've got that ability now to do something affordable, to do local stuff, the stuff that people can actually believe in, the stuff that is actually really important to them, people locally in your neighborhood. And at the same time, if a major national event happens to happen in your town, your city, your county, you've got the kind of equipment with LiveU that you can actually share that nationally with anybody who wants to pick up your feed. So this is what it might look like. Some folks have still got a production truck. You still got all the gear. I actually got a guy in New Hampshire. He goes out and he does high school football games. He still uses all. He brings out his switcher. He does all the mix. He's got 4 cameras, but he needs a way to transport it back to someplace. So he goes out and he puts the 300 on the end of his switcher, and we transport that video. Other than you need to move, down to 3rd in Main Street, the corner of 3rd and Main. So you can have this audio communication going back and forth with the person in the field. Send them to a new location. There's no wires, so they can just run and gun with a backpack or with a couple of our devices or shoulder strap, and they can just run around with the camera, and you could be starting and stopping that feed all day long. So it really, again, it allows you to, in a more affordable way than having to the cost of satellite, is that ability to essentially get out and get about. A quick, go ahead, Matt, because we got some case studies at the end, and I don't want to jump too far. And this is, again, what at-home production is. Oh, we got somebody wants to contribute there.
Yeah, sorry, let me mute my dog. I'll mute myself. We're truly at home.
We're truly at home. So yeah, it's completely wireless, but it can be wired as well. So for instance, when you other people will use it, you're going into a hotel. Maybe you can get internet, or maybe you're going to a conference. Maybe you can get internet. Maybe the internet's too expensive to buy, and that's where a lot of people also use the bonded cellular, because it might be a $10,000 drop to go do an event somewhere for a dedicated internet line. But if you've got internet, what we'll do is you plug in the internet, and you basically tell our device, look, as long as you've got enough bandwidth and the internet is live, let's put it all on that, because that doesn't cost any money. I mean, you do have a data plan with your cellular. So then what you do is you're sitting there, and if the internet drops, we seamlessly pick it up across the available cellular networks. So it really allows you to eliminate a single point of failure when you're trying to go live. All right, so a little bit of what's there. You can go on to the next slide, Matt. I think I've probably talked to this slide that everybody can read. And really, what you need to get started, right, is in the field 1 or 2 field units, and then a decoder unit and a excuse me, a data plan to go with the field units. The data plan, typically 97% of LiveU customers get a data plan from us. You could get your own modems, and actually we do have some cities who are kind of governed by some existing contracts that they may have already with a wireless carrier. So you can actually run on those. It's just up to your purchasing department as to, all right, I got to manage Verizon, I got to manage AT&T, I got to manage T-Mobile. With us, all of that is transparent. You essentially have a data plan, and you run it all through us. It doesn't matter whether you use this much Verizon or that much AT&T because this is who had better reception, whatever. All that's completely transparent to you. So you have a data plan, and it's essentially carrying, all this video content from the field back to your studio, your control room. Okay, so that's what you see in the field. A camera and a device, one or two, an LU200 or 300. We'll talk a little bit about the LU600 in a second, and then you can see there what you need back at the studio. Might be a good time to talk about LiveU Smart. I think I started going down that path before we lost Zoom. So we have a phone app. So within LiveU Centro, you can literally, and I think I did talk about it at the top of this thing, literally send a guest interview to, Bob, the legislature. He gets an SMS text on his phone and takes his phone out, hits the SMS text, it downloads our app, he puts in a 4-digit code, which allows you to be a part of that production, puts it in, the phone configures itself completely into LiveU Smart, puts it into selfie mode, and he sets up his phone and he's delivering a guest interview. What's cool about it is, if my phone, for instance, is Verizon, my home has a Wi-Fi. So I could be connected to both the phone and the Wi-Fi at the same time and use the collective bandwidth of both of those carriers, because we actually use that bonded cellular on the phone as well. I got a guy today, he called, they've been running it and they're really running all over these cities, and basically opening up the opportunity for people to bring in guest interviews, and it's that easy, that quick. Go ahead, Matt. Well, back up 1 second, because I forgot we had, so I didn't talk about the LU600, but if you actually want to take this to the next level, this is kind of what you need to get started. The other thing we have is back at the studio is a video return server. Okay, so I'm bringing all this video in, and let's say it is a 2 or a 3 camera shoot. All right, you got a producer in the field, and that producer wants to see what's going out to the audience. What are we switching, and what's the final production going out to the audience? So we can literally take the feed out of the switcher, feed it into a video return server, and send it back to an LU600, have a little HDMI on the connected to the device, and you can actually see the program back in the field to see what is the actual live production that's going on. This is not going to be your ENG thing. This is going to be more of the football game or some event that you've set 2 or 3 cameras out and you want to do a mixed shoot. So the video return server actually sends all that back. Some people use it for teleprompter. So you can also send teleprompter back to the field, and the person in the field has the ability to do that. So you got video return, you got that 2-way IFB communication I talked about earlier. We actually even support a tally light back to it if it's a multi-camera shoot. So you've got all of this ability to literally sit in your control room and control the entire production from at home, at studio, by only sending out the camera guys. Next slide, Matt. And next slide. So, LA Fire Department, and they've got a ton of our stuff. So here, here's one particular case study. So in their case, you can imagine what they're using it for, but they're literally taking it out, and they've got I think they're using Wowza. So they're actually using, because what I didn't talk about is hitting your cable head end, but you can also send an RTMP feed, URL, stream ID off to your own city webpage, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, online media, Vimeo, Wowza, the list goes on, really any CDN out there. And what they're doing is they're fighting fires, and they're pulling in different support on the big fires from, Ventura County, this county, that county, wherever the fire departments are all coming together. Well, what they do is the chiefs, the decision makers, the guys that are saying, do this, do that, they don't have to leave. They can stay back where they're at, and they're bringing all this live video essentially back with about, like I said, it's less than a second if I go from the camera to your studio. And then if I go from your studio out to a CDN, there's a little bit more delay, but we're seeing like 3 seconds delay. So these guys are literally able to sit back at the station and make decisions, firefighting decisions, pretty much real time with about 3 seconds delay from what's going on in the field. So that's how the LA Fire Department is using it. Next slide, Matt. And the fire department is also doing what the police department's doing, which is they need to give interviews. They need to give press interviews. They need to let people know what's going on. So instead of having the police chief or this person or that person drive a couple hours, hour and a half, whatever it is, to a studio somewhere to do this, they literally just send the cameraman out. U.S. and Customs Border Protection, they're giving interviews every single month. There's about, I don't know, 20 different sectors across the southern border. And they don't really use it much right now for surveillance, and we're trying to catch this guy, catch that guy, or whatever going in and out, or what's going on illegally, this drug smuggler, that's drug smuggler. But it's all about basically the press interviews and that ability to essentially allow these people to, not have to travel 2 or 3 hours back to a studio in order to give their monthly or weekly or whatever it is updates that they want to send. And with Customs and Border, which is Department of Homeland Security, again, now they're using that ability to send it into sometimes one of the major network stations. So you got all this ability to go remote with what you're doing. In your guys' case, like I say, it might be a little bit about the mayor, it might be a legislature or whatever, somebody that's important enough that they need an interview and they need to give a press interview, and you basically just bring the camera to them to do the interview. Next slide, Matt. And again, the governor's office. So this really popped up. There's pretty much a governor's pool using Matrix in virtually every state right now. Maybe not South Dakota, where they didn't have much COVID, but and essentially when they give their press interviews, they go out, they take out the LiveU. Some cases it's 2 cameras, so they can do a mix of different shots, and they essentially bring that feedback, and in this case, right from the field, it goes and it hits a bank of virtual cloud servers, and then that video is distributed out to everybody that has a LiveU receiver on the other end, is in the Matrix, and they're essentially doing this all over the country, and the governor gives an update, and everybody's seeing it 1 second later live. So I think those are really I think that was my last slide, Matt. I'm not sure. I think we go into Q&A here, but really kind of just as a summary, again, to try to bring it all back together, it's really as simple as I now have a device, an affordable device, to go get video anywhere in my community, bring it back to my studio, send it out to my cable head end, OTT, because at the same time I'm putting it on my cable head end, I can RTMP it off to an online media source. And then if the situation warrants it, share it, with another network or networks. So I'll pause there and open up to Q&A.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott. Please continue to submit your questions. I'm just going to kick it off with a couple softball ones while we're waiting for your questions. Can you talk a little bit more about latency configuration, Scott, and how you sync the signals together? Yeah, so it's something we call precision timing. Every device actually has a delay. So you can adjust the delay if you, for whatever reason, the networks, even though we can go down as low as 800 milliseconds, the networks will actually set it to 1.2. I think that might just give them a little bit of time to, drop out the F-bomb or whatever vulgar word might be used or not used or whatever, I don't know, but they set it to 1.2 seconds. But if I've got 4 cameras out there and all of them are feeding back to my station, could be a mix, could be an LU200 or 300 or 600. They all have a delay setting on them, even the smartphone. As long as everybody sets their delay to the same number, then the server will receive them all at that delay back at the server. And then when they hit the server, they hit the switcher with that thing. We call it precision timing, is how that gets done. Thanks. So
got the next question for you. How do you handle comms in the at-home production?
So there's about 7 devices, and a task cam device, and I can't remember which one the others are, but there's about 7 that we've tested and qualified, and that sits in the studio. It plugs into the LU 2000, which is the server that received the video in the first place. You plug the device into that LU 2000, and it's able to carry that audio back to the field. And in the field, you've got a little mini jack, and you plug in your headset or Bluetooth device, and you're essentially doing comms that way. So it's a audio device in the studio and a headset in the field. And that's, by the way, 200 milliseconds delay. So the audio is even faster than the video.
So Scott, a lot of people right now are obviously using Zoom video conferencing to do their live streams. Is there any examples you have of how LiveU ties into Zoom as a video signal or distribution?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I hate to say this, but a lot of times we're actually we're just a little different than Zoom. Zoom can, like we are sitting here today, we can all be sitting here and having kind of a real-time interactive discussion. Matt just asked me a question and I answered it right away. So they're doing something a little bit different, as far as the way Zoom works. We're more, first of all, it's much higher quality. And really where we get used is that, you could have multiple phones, multiple smartphones coming back to a server, but there is a little bit more delay than what's going on with Zoom. It's just a different method of video.
Great. Looks like someone had a follow-up question about can you provide links to comm units that are tested or qualified? So I think that's more of a follow-up type question.
Yeah.
Scott, do you have something like that?
Yeah, I do. We've got I think there's 7 audio devices, and I could share that information.
Are studios using server functions to do remote interviews with network television?
Server functions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that
For
means.
example, can PEG Studios use the technology? Can PEG Studios use the technology to be production facilities for networks?
Yes. So, I mean, again, with LiveU Centro, what we have is that ability really for any asset, whether it's an encoder or a decoder, to be part of somebody else's group. Now, usually there's an agreement, hey, we're working together here. So, what you can literally have is, my field unit feeding your production, anywhere around the world, 800 milliseconds later. So that really is exactly what it does do, is this ability to so we've actually had production companies get hired during COVID to go to the local station's weather guy. It seems like they're mostly female, or news anchor, female or male, whatever. We won't get into that. But anyway, and this is what's going on. The local production companies are then hired to build up a small little temporary studio. And they're bringing in LiveU, they're bringing in a light, they're bringing in a monitor, doing this, doing that. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these, productions being done. You might still have one person back at the station at the studio, but then they're bringing in the weather, or they're bringing in the sports. They're bringing all of that in from another location, which might be a little mini studio that's been set up. So, it's not the PEG station doing it, but it's a PEG station could be doing that for a network, for instance.
Yeah, I remember one great example you guys had was Al Roker doing the weather from his house when COVID first hit. And I thought that was a really interesting story, and how you guys have been applying it for a lot of customers during these times. So one of the slides that you provided, Scott, it says, I saw NDI. Can you talk a little bit about your NDI integration?
Yeah, so the LU 2000 and LU 4000, which is the unit in your studio to pull the video back in, That's where our NDI lives. So if you've got a TriCaster or another device that supports NDI, then we can take, from the video that we receive to the 2000, we can pass it off via NDI, via SDI, and then obviously simultaneously you can go RTMP out of the 2000. So that's where our NDI lives, is back at the studio between the server and the switcher. And with NDI, by the way, we have the 2000. You can get one with a single SDI out, one with 2 SDI out, or one with 4 SDI out. So if you're a RAW switcher, which doesn't support NDI, and you want to do a 2 or 3 camera feed or something like that, you would get say a 4 SDI out, and all those 4 SDIs would go into your switcher. If you've got a TriCaster, you got a New Tech World, you could get away with a single SDI out server, which is a little bit less money, and you could get four feeds into that one SDI server, but 4 NDI into the TriCaster. So it just gives you the ability, when you're in an NDI world back at the studio, to basically save on a few bucks and pass the signal via NDI instead of SDI.
Awesome. I don't see any more questions, but we did get one awesome comment from one of the ACM members, Town Square TV. QCTV got their LiveU decoder set up to receive the Minnesota broadcaster's pool feed of the governor's COVID-19 briefings. This link allowed us to have protest news conferences on live and replay them later and in their entirety. On Saturday, May 30th, we carried 4 LiveU news conferences, and one of them with real-time Spanish translation. The translation was done at the CTV Rossville studio by Lillian McDonald's interpreter from TPT, now Echo. We also had the Floyd Memorial Service pool feed on live and replayed over the weekend. We had a feed of MPLS council meeting for Friday on LiveU and replayed where they made changes to the police department. So thank you. It's like a live case study that we're getting on this. So
that was great.
Comment.
Was that John or Taylor? Or maybe one of the other folks from Quad Cities. Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah. And one of the things that was interesting that was brought up there was, you can, when you're going live, you can actually store at the same time. So we call it live and store. So while you're going live, you can store locally at the device. We didn't talk a little bit about it, but so now you got a local file sitting on your device, and typically it's on the SD card that you can plug in, and that's the storage device. And there's a file management system inside the device, and then when you're done going live, it'll literally obviously use the cellular technology to send that file back to your studio or wherever, and you can have it for repurposing later. So you're getting a we can give you that ability to store the raw content and be able to keep that raw content in your data asset management system to be called up obviously later on. So it's called Live and Store, which gives you the ability. We didn't talk about it, but the LU300 and LU600 also have something called Data Bridge. And it essentially, okay, you got a device with seven modems in it, turn it into an Uber hotspot. So when you're not actually going live with your video, you can essentially turn it into a data transfer device. The LU300 or 600 be sitting here, in a room, and everybody's logged into it like it was a Wi-Fi Uber spot, hotspot, and transfer and use it to transfer data. So it's got a lot of extra, other things that or at least one other thing, I guess not a lot right there, but one more thing that it can do.
So Scott, I got another one for you. We have an LU2000 unit with a single SDI output. Is it possible to add a second SDI output without buying a whole new unit?
It is not. But what we do is we offer value on a trade-in. You can send us your LU2001 SDI, and we will give you some credit for that and send you either a 2 or a 4.
Great. Looks like we got one more customer comment. Joe in Maui has been using the unit for a live daily news program with feeds for both the mayor and governors on different islands in Hawaii about COVID-19. So just kind of showing the geographical no boundaries with the LiveU system. So
maybe Joe in Hawaii saw our Canoe Outrigger race that actually Keycode and BC Live helped to co-produce, but we literally carried the Molokai annual Outrigger canoe race from Molokai back to Waikiki Beach. They started 21 miles offshore, and never before have they been able to go live from out in the ocean. Yeah. And essentially broadcast that, for a live audience. And they used it using LiveU technology and bringing it back from the ocean. Very cool.
It's worth mentioning. I mean, there's so many applications for LiveU once the thoughts start popping. I know for us personally, when we do trade shows and events, they charge $10,000+ for an internet connection to your trade show booth. And with a LiveU backpack, I can have internet distributed over Wi-Fi network to attendees at my booth. So just think there's so many applications for this. And with that, Scott, I think we are out of questions. And so really want to thank you for taking the time to present today. Mike, thanks for having us. We're going to go ahead and I'll let Mike do an outro, but just want to let you know after this, we'll send you guys an email with some follow-up information. And we look forward to discussing, helping you guys with any kind of broadcast, AV, or post-production.
And Matt, let me know who wanted the information on the audio devices, and I'll send that too.
It looks like we've got one last question here.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we just got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, we'll take one more question. So with the LU2000, when will the LU2000 support simultaneous streams to multiple CDNs? For example, right now we are limited to streaming to Facebook or YouTube, not both at the same time unless we use a third-party solution.
Yes, I do not have an answer for you. I mean, other than that is the way we do it right now. We provide a single RTMP stream, as the person who asked the question correctly asked, and that's all we have is the one RTMP stream. So you've got to hit it to Switchboard or Restream.io or somebody else that does multicasting. I mean, you could, on a 4-channel server, for instance, you've got 4 cameras coming in. I can individually send 4 RTMP streams off of each one of those 4 channels, but that's not the mixed program out that you're potentially looking for. But and one could go here and one could go there, but that'd be from 4 different camera feeds and not what you're looking for. I understand the question.
Yeah, and I think if I can add to that, Scott, I think I can think of examples where most of the time that kind of encoding is done from the production switcher itself, while they're using a TriCaster, Ross Carbonite, Vimeo, which is a software-based one. Usually we'll take all those LiveU feeds, pull it into the switcher, and then through the switcher distribute the signal. So that's just another way to do it.
And I've actually seen where they'll use LiveU on the output of the switcher if their situation is not strong internet. They don't have a device to send that stream to so they'll put us on the output of that switcher as well and use cellular to take that feed out to YouTube Live or Restream.io or a Switchboard or whatever. If they have internet but they don't trust it, or they don't have internet, or what it may be, but they will actually put us often on the output of the switcher as the transport.
Karen is asking, can you please put up the workflow slide again? I don't know which slide exactly, but
I know which one
where we can share it now.
Go back and Karen can say stop, maybe.
Well, and Karen, if you want, we're going to send links with workflows and examples, and perhaps a PowerPoint deck if Scott allows me. So this will be stuff that we send you guys in a follow-up.
For sure.
You'll be sending everyone the slide deck.
Okay.
Listen, I want to thank you both for the time today and for taking people's questions. It's really interesting technology and very, very timely with the type of application that folks need right now. So we really really grateful for your time and for connecting with folks and for following up on questions that come after today's presentation. So thanks again, Scott and Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Matt McLean is with Keycode Media. Scott Sheehan is with LiveU. And I want to thank you all for joining us for this partner presentation from ACM. We'll have more presentations as the summer rolls along, providing you information about solutions that help you do your mission better. So thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll be seeing you.